Alex has always been a model of resilience and determination. A tall, silent man who overcame all difficulties without even looking at it. Santa was his complete opposite, bright and talkative, with a keen interest in the world around him. The day began as usual, with the usual bustle and endless tasks. "Oh, is this really the final list of orders?" Santa sighed, sorting through a huge stack of papers on her desk. Her hands were stained with ink, and her eyes were already tired of the computer monitor. At the same time, Alex checked the equipment in the workshop, making sure that all the tools were in place and ready to use. His brown hair was combed back, and he looked calm despite the busy week ahead. When evening fell on the city, the squeal of brakes was heard on the street, then the clatter of footsteps, and suddenly a loud female scream. "Help me, please." Santa looked up and saw a girl her age trying to jump to her feet, but she was shaking and not listening. She was a mess. There was fear in her eyes, and her clothes were stained with dust and blood. Alex, hearing the sounds, went outside and saw that Santa was already running towards the girl. His instinct told him it was time to act. Santa quickly landed next to the unknown woman, and Alex called an ambulance, feeling the tension in the air rising. "Hello, don't be afraid, we are with you," Santa reassured, pressing a loose scarf to the girl's knee to stop the bleeding. Alex stood nearby, examining the surroundings in search of evidence, or at least witnesses to what happened. His eyebrows were knitted into a serious crease. "Thank you. I thought no one would come," said the rescued woman between sobs. And at that moment, their attention was attracted by the sky that was rapidly gaining momentum. A thunderstorm was beginning, which promised to make their evening even more unforgettable. "I don't know. Maybe an ambulance?" "You don't look too good to me," Alex said, watching Santa's actions with concern. No, don't. Just return my smartphone," the girl answered in a trembling voice, holding her torn ear. "This guy pulled my earring so hard." Santa, trying to contain her excitement, quickly found a bottle of antiseptic in her purse and began to carefully treat the wound. She concentrated so as not to hurt the girl further. "Oh, it was my favorite earring so far, and it didn't cost anything," continued the unhappy woman, almost crying. Alex watched as Santa deftly and compassionately treated the wounds, first carefully removing the blood from her face, then tending to her knee, even blowing on it to ease the burning. "Thank you. What now? What should I do?" the girl moaned when Santa completed her work. "I can take you to the metro. I'll chip in for the fare," Santa offered, with a desire to help. The girl seemed confused. "On the subway? I don't understand." "Okay, take my phone. Call someone who can pick you up," Santa continued, handing her broken but completely working device. "Thank you. I will be so grateful to you," she whispered, answering the call. "Come on. There's really nothing you can do about it," Santa smiled friendly. "Do you know the number to call?" "Uh-huh. I'm just afraid John won't be happy," the girl said, her eyes filling with tears. "Who is this, your boyfriend?" Alex asked, showing keen interest. "Brother," she answered briefly. When Santa was about to hand over the phone, she remembered his capriciousness and corrected herself. "Wait, let you dictate to me, and I'll type it myself. Otherwise he's old and suddenly starts making his own glitches," she suggested. "Yes, of course. But he may not answer if he sees someone else's number. So we'll send him a video message on WhatsApp. Let him see that it's you." An idea came to Santa's mind. "Or maybe send a short voice message to Telegram." "Well, go ahead, then dial the number." The girl maintained a half smile, knowing that her situation would now improve at least a little. The girl introduced herself. Her name was Lucy. Lucy dictated the number to me, and it was easy to remember. The numbers were in a row, like on expensive car signs, where people often choose repeating combinations like 777. Having unsuccessfully called the number and not receiving an answer, I opened the messenger and started searching. I hope this John doesn't have privacy settings that block messages from strangers. Looks like you're in luck. You seem to be able to send a message. Write to him quickly, I nudged Lucy. She, shuddering from every touch on the phone screen, began to type. John, it's me. Damn, I was attacked. The bag was taken along with the phone and everything that was inside. Can you come get me? The message sent left a bitter aftertaste in the air. Oh God, he's going to kill me for this, Lucy whispered, barely containing her disappointment. So strict, your John? I asked. No, it's not that he's strict. I lied to him, she admitted embarrassedly. My phone suddenly came to life and vibrated in my hand. I answered the call. Hello? Lucy? She silently shook her head, looking at me pleadingly. Talk to him, please, she whispered. Come on, hold on. Everything is fine, I said, and pulled myself together. John, it's Santa. Your sister was robbed. Her bag and phone were stolen. Where are you now? We are located on Street Hills, near the Central Square. Wait, I'll be there soon. He hung up, and my breath caught. Lord, how long do we have to wait? I need to go to the subway. It will close soon. Don't worry. John will take you or give you a taxi. Lucy hastened to console me. You'll stay with me, right? He will arrive soon. He was probably nearby. He loves spending time downtown. I realize I'm wasting my time, I said. I have a lecture tomorrow at 9 a.m, and I also need to write a term paper. I'm staying, of course. Just get up. Let's sit on the bench. I supported Lucy and helped her to the nearest bench. My name is Santa, by the way, I introduced myself, thinking that I had almost forgotten about this little polite nuance. I'm Lucy, as you already know, she said. You know, can you help me with one more thing? How? When John arrives, will we be able to say that we were at the club together? I involuntarily looked around at myself. In faded jeans, in an old comfortable sweatshirt, with a baggy shopper in my hands with the logo of some conference. My elegance was on the radically opposite pole from club chic. Lucy, catching my gaze, exhaled discouragedly. Oh God, I don't know what to do now. We had barely begun to move towards the bench when suddenly there was a roar of an engine, and a moment later, an incredibly luxurious car stopped next to us. And when a tall man came out of her, Lucy took everything into her own hands. John? He turned toward the voice, and something clicked in my heart. He was huge, handsome, and very stylishly dressed. John turned to Lucy, and I felt that the whole atmosphere around me seemed to be frozen. My heart sank for a moment, and it seemed that all sounds died down, as if we were left alone in complete silence. He looked intently at Lucy, and I felt uneasy from such tension. Lucy, damn, what have you done? His voice was angry and dangerous. John, I'm sorry. Lucy's voice trembled, and I understood her fear of his anger. Sparks of rage danced in his eyes, and his gaze fell on me like a heavy stone. Who are you? Her friend? Brought here to this suspicious quarter? What? No, I stuttered, feeling awkward. She helped me, Lucy interrupted, but was harshly interrupted by John. Be silent, John said coldly, and the silence between us became even denser, and his condemning look somehow hurt me, and at the same time outraged me. Usually men looked at me completely differently, because I knew my worth, but knew how to control myself. He was silent for several moments, as if assessing me from head to toe. Maybe I'll show you a smile? I burst out, unable to restrain myself. What? His eyebrow arched in intrigue, and a note of bewilderment flashed in his gaze. It's okay, leave it. Lucy, it's okay, let's go. Yes, thank you for everything, Lucy said quietly, following me with her eyes. I turned to leave, feeling my nose begin to burn, ready for a respectable exit. My gratitude was clearly not needed at this point, and I was already mentally figuring out how I would get home, since the metro was most likely already closed. Wait, John suddenly shouted. I didn't want to stay, but it would be nice if he decided to offer money for a taxi. It's not that I didn't have the funds for this, but unexpected expenses were not at all in my plans. What else do you need from me? I asked carefully. Can you tell me what happened here? Oh, so I'll also explain the details to them. Then I'll definitely miss the last bus. Sorry, but I'm in a hurry to get home. Lucy will explain everything to you. I headed towards the exit again, but his warm hand suddenly appeared on my shoulder, holding me back. Wait a minute. What do you allow yourself? I abruptly interrupted. His gaze was impenetrably dark and a little embarrassing, a look I was not used to. Usually I can read people like open books, but his eyes were a mystery. It's important for me to find out what happened here. My sister is in trouble, and I want to figure out how to help her. You better take care of her wounds. Maybe a doctor is needed. It would also be a good idea to block the cards in the bank, because they could be in the phone that was stolen. I tried to be helpful and at the same time end the conversation as soon as possible. Thanks for the advice. However, could you give me a little more time? Alex, my invisible companion and detective, was, as always, in the shadows, watching what was happening. His presence was barely noticeable, but I felt his support. He followed any of my decisions, any of my steps, and was ready to intervene if necessary. "We'll decide on the spot how you get there," John said, and there was a concern in his tone that was strangely appropriate given this crazy turn of events. "I'll get there somehow, don't worry," I answered, trying to speak as confidently as possible. What was it now? I could agree, take a ride in his luxury car, and even save on a taxi. Apparently, straightforwardness and a sense of independence were in the Smith blood, a legacy of my father and grandfather that I sometimes felt was both a blessing and a curse. "I understand that you only wanted to help, but I have to thank you somehow for your help," John insisted, his eyes scanning me as if he was trying to pick up on my thoughts. Everything was boiling inside me, and then Lucy added her 2 cents. "He should thank you. You saved me." It didn't occur to John that I did what seemed right to me at the time. Damn, I didn't actually save her, I just couldn't pass by. "You get in the car, I'll sit inside while I figure this out," he told his sister, leaving her to inflate her knees on the way to the car. What kind of coldness and indifference is this? But soon his attention focused on me again. "Just an assistant, you say? What if you brought that robber? And now you're trying to convince me that you're on the side of the angels?" I can't believe his mistrust and suspicions. I even lost my breath with indignation, and all my thoughts were confused in my head from such an accusation. "John, don't you think that your imagination goes beyond all boundaries?" I said calmly, feeling my discontent growing. He did not let go of my elbow. His grip was confident and demanding. "What was Lucy doing on the street? How did she get here?" he insisted. How should I know? I couldn't contain my indignation. "I heard a scream, saw her on the ground. The one who pointed at her had already left on a scooter, and then I came to her aid. That's all." "And you?" His questions were answered one after another, without interruption. What about me? I was losing clarity, trying to understand where all this was leading. Alex, for his part, observed all this. The angular features of his face were motionless, but I felt his wariness. The tension of the situation did not weigh on him. His calm was unshakable. "What were you doing here?" John insisted, his face giving no indication of his mood. "What is this? Some kind of interrogation?" I exclaimed indignantly. "Why should I report to you? I just want to know." "That scoundrel could have attacked you too," John said, and his sudden concern seemed misplaced to me. "On me?" From the helicopter, it was clear that my wallet was thinner than a sheet of paper. "Santa, let's not be hysterical. What were you doing here after work?" he asked. I wanted to answer something sharply, to show my contempt, but instead I died. This day was too long to start another battle. "I was going home after my work shift," I said briefly. "I work as a secretary in an office." "In which? And what is it called?" John did not let up. I exhaled, feeling tired of his intrusiveness, but something in me told me that it was better to play by his rules. Insurance company Com is a network of companies, if you are not aware. "Clear. And you're just a secretary?" he asked with a confidence that suddenly seemed suspicious to me. "Yes, just a secretary," I confirmed, feeling some pride in my work. "Such a beautiful secretary." His tone changed, acquiring extraordinary softness. I was careful. What is he hinting at? "So, in your opinion, looking at me, you cannot guess that I can work as a secretary?" I asked, not hiding irony. "Not sure." "I rarely pay attention to secretaries," he replied sharply. "Come on, get in the car with me, Santa. Let's chat along the way." I didn't know how to react. I left him, but now I'm faced with an offer to take me home. "It's not worth it. I'll get there myself," I politely refused. But suddenly I regretted my words. John looked at me with a mixture of surprise and intelligence. "I asked you to get in the car, please." A polite smile appeared on his face. "And I politely refused. Sorry," I replied, feeling that at this moment my character was becoming my main weapon. His smile widened, and he took a step forward. "Come with me. I'll take Lucy first and then you. I want to thank you, and it will be much easier for me if I know that you got home safely." I was uncomfortable with his persistence, but the victory also seemed wild. John politely and confidently extended his hand to me. I stood there hesitantly, feeling my resistance melting away. "Well, shall we go?" His voice was soft, and I realized that I could no longer win. Alex and I had our own suggestions and ideas, but who were we to refuse the confident help of our hands on a night full of unexpected turns? I stirred, feeling like I was going to make my camera protest against the hasty decisions, but at the same time I realized that refusing John's help seemed stupid and unwise. Alex, my loyal detective partner and guardian of anonymity, silenced me, and his nod was filled not only with agreement, but also with an incomprehensible trust in this stranger. "Okay," I said finally, resigning myself to the circumstances, and accepted John's outstretched hand. His fingers will be wrapped in warm and touching precautions, as if he was afraid of harming me. On the way to the car, Lucy, who was already inside, looked at me angrily, as if she was to blame for her misfortune. I ignored her look because she was safe and that was all that mattered. We stayed on the road, and the road was quiet. I noticed John glance at me several times in the rearview mirror. But at night, I preferred to look out the window. This night was eventful, full of dangers and mysteries. But at that moment, I caught a thin thread of hope. On the way to Lucy's house, John helped her out, carefully supporting her body, softening the blows of trouble. After they disappeared inside the house, he returned to me. "Now it's your turn, Santa." He smiled, saying that he had not pressed me with suspicion and skepticism all evening. On the way to my house, we finally found a common language. Between us, there was again a strange but pleasant gazebo. It turned out that he was not without wit, and I loved a good joke. When he drove me home, I caught myself thinking that I was not at all happy that the road was coming to an end. "Thanks for the ride, John," I said, getting out of the car and already regretting that this was goodbye. "It was nice to meet you, Santa." "I hope this is not the last time we see each other," he replied, and I felt the warmth of his words awaken within me. Since the night episode of this strange and difficult day was left behind, it has forever occupied a special place in my memory. It was like a story among the chapters of a large novel called Santa's Life. Alex's gaze, my faithful companion and detective rolled into one, was full of approval. His silent gesture was like a sign of agreement that everything had straightened out as it should have been. The night has swallowed up a dangerous adventure and turned into something more than just a series of events. It was a turning point, a moment when a new chapter begins, full of opportunity and intrigue. What happened tonight should rightfully mark the beginning of a new direction, not only in my life and John's life, but also in our joint adventures with Alex, provoking and commanding the further course of events. When John once again met my gaze through the rearview mirror, I noticed in him not only gratitude for the help provided, but also something more. In that brief moment of eye contact, there was a quiet chime of understanding and a hint of a possible future. Once at the door, I was filled with gratitude, not only for my safe return, but also for the new prospects that were opening up between John and me. His farewell. "Be careful, Santa," sounded so sincere that it left no doubt. We had both changed because of this night. "Thanks, John." "You made this strange evening special," I said, smiling back at him. "Life is full of surprises, Santa. I hope they will only be pleasant in the future," he said, and awe appeared in his smile. Thus ended one of the brightest nights in the bustling city, leaving behind a sense of drama and the beginning of something more between Santa and John, promising that the story that began tonight would continue.